They say appearances can be deceiving, and on a cold morning in Everwood Valley, Ohio, that old saying took on a whole new weight. What started as a quiet breakfast run at M's Family Diner turned into a turning point in an undercover investigation, all because the wrong crew messed with the wrong woman. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if this story hits you, hit subscribe, because tomorrow, I've got something even wilder lined up. Kate Morrison's battered Ford pickup pulled into the diner's lot just as the first light crept over the hills. She looked like just another traveler, a heavy-set woman in her early 50s, dressed simply, a veteran's cap pulled low. She had worked hard to look this unremarkable, putting on weight, softening her posture, perfecting the quiet, down-to-earth vibe. People saw someone like their aunt, their neighbor's mom, and they didn't look twice. That's exactly what Kate needed. The bell above the diner door jingled as she stepped inside, casually scanning the room as if searching for a seat, though her eyes were already picking apart every detail. 6 customers, an older couple by the window, 2 truckers at the counter, 2 locals in a booth. Everything looked calm. "Morning, Miss Kate," said Jason Chen, the college kid working part-time as a waiter. "Your usual spot?" She nodded, her cover firmly in place. Warm, polite, slightly shy. "Thanks, Jason. Coffee would be great." She slid into her regular booth, the one that just so happened to offer perfect views of both exits and the kitchen. That seat wasn't a coincidence. It gave her a full read of the place while she appeared lost in her newspaper. From the kitchen, Emily M. Thorne stepped out, her face lighting up. "Well, if it isn't my favorite customer, that shoulder still giving you trouble?" The shoulder injury was part of Kate's fabricated backstory, the reason she'd retired from military life and was now spending time with her cousin in Everwood Valley. The truth? Kate was deep undercover, tracking a complex network of illicit operations believed to be funneling money into international terror groups. Kate smiled with a perfect mix of casual cheer and quiet resignation. "Some days are better than others, Em." Then the bell rang again. 3 men walked in, thick boots stomping across the worn linoleum, leather vests creaking with every step. On their backs, the unmistakable patch of the Shadow Riders Motorcycle Club, the same gang Kate had been watching for weeks. Jason's jaw tightened. Emily's cheerful smile froze into something more professional. The whole diner felt it. That quiet shift in air when trouble walks in. Conversation stopped. Everyone suddenly got really into their food. "Coffee all around," the tallest one said, claiming a booth near the entrance. "And make it quick, kid." Kate didn't look up from her paper, but she was watching, listening, calculating. The leader, Michael Wrench Patterson. She'd seen him in surveillance shots. Fresh cut above his right eyebrow. The youngest had bruised knuckles. The third guy wouldn't stop checking his phone, his leg bouncing beneath the table. Emily walked over with a coffee pot, her hand trembling just slightly as she poured. "Can I get you gentlemen anything else?" "Yeah," Wrench replied, his voice too smooth, too practiced. "Tell your brother we're still waiting on his answer. Time's running out, Emily." That name cut through the air like a knife. Emily's brother, Calvin Beast Thorne, wasn't just a biker. He was the club's president. And according to the CIA's latest intel, he was knee-deep in trafficking routes and laundering ops across the region. But no one had the full picture. Yet. I told you, Mike. Cal makes his own choices. I just run the diner." "Sure you do, sweetheart." Wrench's smirk never touched his eyes. The elderly couple quickly paid and left. One of the truckers whispered into his phone. Tension crackled like storm air. Kate stayed in character, quietly reading, casually sipping her coffee, while tracking every twitch, every shift. Wrench's hand kept drifting toward his vest, probably packing. The nervous guy's phone buzzed again, and Kate caught a flash of the screen. "Containers arrived, waiting on signal." Emily retreated behind the counter, her face pale. Jason tried to steady his hands, but the coffee cups rattled just a little too much. Then the bell rang again. 2 more Shadow Riders stepped in, ones Kate hadn't seen before. They nodded at Wrench and took spots by the door. This wasn't breakfast anymore, it was a warning, and Kate was ready. Kate glanced at her watch. Backup was still 20 minutes out. Agent Rivera's surveillance team was nearby, but their focus was locked on a suspected weapons shipment elsewhere in the county. For now, she was on her own. "Hey, lady," the youngest Shadow Rider snapped, noticing her eyes on them. "Got a problem?" Kate slipped effortlessly into her cover persona, a slightly flustered middle-aged woman. "Oh, no, not at all, just finishing my breakfast." Then stopped staring. "Mind your business." "Leave her alone, Danny," M's voice cut in, strained but firm. "She's a regular, just a retired vet who—" "Shut it," Wrench growled, standing up. "Matter of fact, everyone who ain't family, clear out. Me and Mem here got business. Private business, family business." The remaining customers didn't need to be told twice. The truckers bolted. Chairs scraped the floor, plates clattered. Only Kate stayed seated, moving deliberately slowly, folding her newspaper, reaching for her bag like someone who hadn't heard the threat. "That includes you, Grandma," Danny sneered. "Unless you want to find out what happens to people who don't follow simple instructions." Kate appeared to fumble with her purse, buying precious seconds. She counted 5 riders. At least 3 were carrying. Jason started to reach for his phone. "Don't even think about it, kid," the nervous biker caught him. The phone hit the counter with a loud clatter. Behind it, M stood frozen, pale but still defiant. "Please, just go. I'll talk to Cal." "I promise." "Oh, we're done talking." Wrench stepped toward her. "Time for action. Your brother's about to learn what happens when—" Crash. The coffee pot shattered against the floor as M stumbled back in panic. And in that moment, everything shifted. Kate had a choice to make: stay in cover or intervene. Wrench reached for M, and that was it. Kate's mission had officially taken a sharp turn. Sometimes the only way to gather intel is to force your enemies to reveal who they really are. She just hoped Rivera would understand why 6 months of undercover work were about to go up in smoke. Kate's coffee cup hit the table with a sharp clink. "You boys might want to rethink this situation." The voice was different now. No warmth, no softness, just ice and steel. Wrench turned away from M, his expression darkening. "Lady, I thought I told you to. And I thought I heard this young woman say she didn't want you near her." Kate remained seated, relaxed, but her body was coiled, ready. Her vet story wasn't a lie. She had served. And those skills? About to come in real handy. Danny stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "Looks like Grandma needs a lesson in listening." Kate didn't blink. "Last chance. Walk away. Now. And we can all pretend this never happened." Wrench nodded. Danny reached for her. Bad idea. In one smooth motion, Kate twisted his wrist and used his own momentum to slam him into a booth. Efficient, surgical, no wasted energy. "What the—" The nervous rider reached for his vest, but Kate was faster. She kicked the table, knocking him off balance. In 2 rapid strikes, she disabled his arm and sent his weapon skidding across the floor, still unfired. M gasped from behind the counter. "Jason, kitchen. Now!" Kate barked, her voice calm but unmistakably commanding. The young waiter didn't hesitate. He disappeared into the back. 2 more riders moved from the door, closing in. Kate grabbed a napkin dispenser and flung it into the face of the first. As he flinched, she stepped in, driving her knee into his gut. He folded instantly. "Call Cal!" Wrench shouted, pulling a gun. Kate didn't let him finish. She grabbed the second door guard and shoved him into Wrench. The gun fired, but the shot went wide, punching a hole in the ceiling. M screamed, "No more time." This had to end now. Kate dropped the second guard with a series of strikes. Danny tried to rise again. She dropped him with a brutal elbow to the temple. The nervous rider crawled toward his weapon. Kate kicked it across the floor, far out of reach. Wrench got free, gun up. He had the drop on her. But before he could fire, "Drop it!" A new voice rang out like thunder. Deputy Sarah Winters stood in the doorway, sidearm raised. Patrol cars screamed into the lot, lights flashing. Wrench froze, calculating. Kate saw it in his eyes. That split-second decision. Risk it or surrender. "I said drop it." Winters didn't flinch. The fight drained out of him. The weapon clattered to the floor. Officers rushed in. One of them, Kate noticed, hesitated, more interested in checking the downed riders than securing the scene. That was interesting. M stepped out from behind the counter, still shaking. I've never seen anything like that. Where'd you learn to fight like that? Kate didn't miss a beat. You'd be surprised what they teach you in special operations. Deputy Winters approached, lowering her weapon. Mind telling me what happened here, Miss Morrison? Kate nodded, keeping her tone even. She gave her statement carefully, strategically, watching closely as the deputies did their job, and quietly wondering just how deep the Shadow Rider's influence might really go. Outside the diner, Deputy Winters was making a quiet phone call, her voice low enough to be drowned out by the distant hum of engines. Inside, one of the Shadow Riders stirred, groaning as he began to come to. They threatened her, Jason said, stepping nervously out from the kitchen. They were trying to push her about her brother and then Mrs. Morrison just... It was like watching a movie. Not like a movie, Kate corrected softly, her voice calm. Just training and experience. She kept an eye on the officers collecting Wrench's weapon, but something didn't sit right. No one seemed interested in the other gun, the one dropped by the nervous rider. It lay there, untouched, like it didn't exist. M sat quietly at the counter, pale and shaken. They've never been that bold before, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Usually they just talk, drop hints, make suggestions. But this? She looked at Kate. Thank you. Really? Deputy Winters finished taking statements and returned to Kate. We'll need you to come down to the station, she said. Standard procedure for any incident involving firearms. Kate nodded, her expression neutral, but her thoughts racing. She noticed the hesitant deputy from earlier, the one who'd been slow to draw his weapon, was now watching her closely. As she gathered her things, she subtly activated the small recorder hidden in her phone case. The next few hours would be critical. Through the diner's windows, she saw more bikes approaching. Word was spreading. Her cover might not survive the day, but maybe that wasn't a bad thing. Sometimes the fastest way to expose a conspiracy is to rattle it, force the players out into the open. M touched Kate's arm. They'll be back, maybe not the same guys, but others. The Shadow Riders don't let things go. Kate gave her a reassuring smile. Neither do I. As she followed Deputy Winters out to the patrol car, she brushed her watch with the side of her hand, triggering a hidden signal to Agent Rivera. The operation was shifting. Fast. The riders had just given her a perfect excuse to stay close without pretending anymore. Wrench, now in cuffs, was being loaded into a different patrol car. He locked eyes with her, rage simmering behind his bruises. You have no idea what you just started, lady. Kate met his glare, unfazed. Actually, I think you're the one who doesn't understand what's happening here. Back inside, the security cameras had caught it all. Every punch, every threat. Even the deputy's selective approach to evidence. By nightfall, that footage would be in Rivera's hands. One more piece of a growing puzzle that pointed to corruption and criminal ties rooted deep in Everwood Valley. As the cruiser pulled away, Kate spotted a familiar black SUV parked quietly down the block. Rivera's team was already in position, documenting every face that showed up to check on the fallen riders, every license plate, every call, every connection. Because sometimes the best way to infiltrate a criminal network is to make them think they've stumbled onto you. And hey, if you're still with us and this story's got your attention, show some love and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Now, let's get back to it. Kate settled into the back seat of the patrol car, already planning her next move. The real work was just beginning. At the Everwood Valley Police Department, the tension was thicker than ever. The station buzzed with activity, but something about it felt off. 3 different officers had already tried to take Kate's statement, each one asking slightly different questions, fishing for inconsistencies. It wasn't just protocol. They were testing her. From the reflection in the glass, Kate watched the chaos unfold outside the interview room. Deputy Winters returned, 2 coffees in hand. She set one in front of Kate. "Sorry for the wait, Miss Morrison. Paperwork gets heavy when firearms are involved." Kate noticed how Winters positioned herself with her back to the room camera, deliberately blocking its view of Kate's face. She wrapped her hands around the coffee cup, still playing the slightly shaken vet. "I understand. You're just doing your job." Winters leaned on the table, watching her closely. "Those men you took down, they've got records. Assault, extortion, weapons trafficking. But the charges never seem to stick." She let that hang in the air, watching. "Strange, isn't it?" Kate gave nothing away, but through the open door, she saw the same hesitant deputy from earlier. He was hunched over his phone again, whispering urgently. Meanwhile, 2 others were reviewing security footage, their faces darkening with every frame. "Life can be strange that way," Kate replied carefully. "Sometimes. Things aren't what they seem." Just then, the door opened again. Chief Anderson strode in, crisp uniform, practiced concern painted across his face. "Miss Morrison, I want to personally apologize for what happened today. We take these things very seriously here in Everwood Valley." Kate didn't miss the way Winters' posture subtly changed. Her shoulders tensed, just for a second. "Interesting." "I'm sure you do, Chief." Kate straightened just slightly, letting a trace of military posture slip through. "Though I have to wonder how men with those kinds of records are still walking around, threatening innocent people in broad daylight." Anderson's polite smile faltered, just a touch. "We're doing everything we can. Within the law, of course." Then, with a rehearsed smile, "I understand you have combat experience?" "Army," Kate said. "Special operations." Kate was explaining her background. "Mostly administrative," she said. "But they make sure you know how to handle yourself." Before she could finish, a commotion erupted outside the interview room. A tall man in an expensive suit was arguing with the desk sergeant. "I'm their attorney. You can't hold them without charges." Standing just behind him, a shorter man in a polo and khakis. Kate recognized him instantly. James Harrison, a city council member. The puzzle pieces were snapping into place. "If you'll excuse me," Chief Anderson said, rising. "Deputy Winters will finish taking your statement." As the chief walked out, Winters leaned in slightly. "You should be careful, Miss Morrison. The Shadow Riders? They've got friends in high places." Kate's response was cool. "Sounds like something a good officer would be worried about." Winters met her eyes. "Yes, it would." Kate's phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. She tilted the screen just out of the camera's view. "Nobody disrespects the Shadow Riders. Cal wants to meet. Discuss compensation for this morning's misunderstanding." A second message followed. "Diner, 8 p.m. Come alone, or Emily pays for your mistake." Deputy Winters began shuffling papers, giving Kate just enough cover to respond. Through the window, she spotted the Shadow Riders being released. Their attorney was deep in conversation with Chief Anderson. Then Winters spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "One more thing. Watch Officer Hayes. He's got a reputation for losing evidence in Shadow Riders cases." Kate gave the smallest of nods. She had already pegged Hayes, the same deputy who hesitated back at the diner. His phone calls were going to make interesting listening once Rivera's team pulled the surveillance data. The station's front door swung open again. 2 men in FBI windbreakers walked in, heading straight for the chief's office. Right on time. Rivera's team was making themselves visible, just enough to rattle the system. Pressure was rising. Then Kate's phone buzzed again, this time from Emily. "They're watching the diner. Someone's taking pictures of customers. What do I do?" Before she could type a reply, another text came in from a blocked number. "Tell your FBI friends to back off, or we find out if your combat training covers bomb disposal." Kate kept her expression completely neutral. She stood. "Are we finished here, Deputy?" "For now," Winters replied, handing her a card. "Call if anything else comes to mind, anything at all." Out in the parking lot, Kate moved slowly, scanning reflections in the glass as she approached her truck. They were watching. Parked cars, men inside pretending not to look, but they weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. Shadow Rider surveillance, out in the open. An expensive car pulled into the lot just as she reached her door. Mayor Gregory Hayes, brother-in-law to Councilman Harrison. The web was tightening. Then her real phone buzzed. The secure one hidden in her purse. A message from Rivera. Meeting in 30. Major developments. International players incoming. Kate started the engine. In her mirror, 2 motorcycles fell in behind her at a safe but steady distance. Good. Let them follow. Let them think they were the hunters. Because the real question was this: why would a so-called local biker gang need political cover, FBI scrutiny, and now international attention? The answer, she suspected, would justify every risk she was about to take. But first, dinner. Calvin Beast Thorne wanted to talk. Perfect. In Kate's experience, criminals revealed the most when they believed they were in control. Her watch buzzed twice. Rivera's signal. The surveillance net was up. Whatever happened tonight would be recorded. As she pulled into her driveway, her neighbors waved with friendly smiles, completely unaware of the battle unfolding beneath the surface of their quiet town. The bikes behind her cruised slowly past, the riders not bothering to hide their interest. Let them watch. Let them feel confident. The best operations were the ones where your targets thought they held the upper hand, until it was far too late to stop what was coming. By the time she arrived at M's family diner, the sun was gone and the shadows had taken over. The once cheerful breakfast joint now looked like a trap waiting to be sprung. Kate got there early, 10 minutes to 8, enough time to scope the perimeter. Motorcycles were parked with precision around the lot, strategic, protective. A message. Inside, the place was nearly empty. M stood behind the counter, visibly nervous. 2 men sat in the far corner. One of them, unmistakably, was Calvin Thorne. Even seated, he was an imposing figure, broad-shouldered, graying hair tied neatly in a ponytail, his eyes sharp. Across from him, a lean man in an expensive suit stared into a laptop screen, his fingers moving fast. "Mrs. Morrison," Calvin said, his voice smooth, almost elegant. "Please, join us." Kate walked slowly toward the booth, taking it all in. Calvin's hands bore fresh scars. The laptop screen reflected in the window showed shipping manifests. The man in the suit, wearing a Swiss watch worth more than most people's yearly income. "I believe we have some matters to discuss," Calvin said, gesturing to the seat. Just then, Em appeared with coffee, her hands trembling slightly. "Can I get you anything else?" "We're fine, sis," Calvin replied softly. But Em flinched at his tone. "Why don't you take a break?" he added. "Greg and I need to talk business with Mrs. Morrison." She nodded quietly and disappeared into the kitchen. The man in the tailored suit, Greg, shut his laptop with a faint click. "Let's cut to the chase," he said flatly. "You've caused a considerable disruption to our operations, Mrs. Morrison, or should I say—" He glanced at a paper. "Lieutenant Morrison, 5th Special Forces Support." Kate didn't flinch. Background checks were expected, but the level of detail was troubling. "I wasn't aware self-defense required military credentials," she replied smoothly. Calvin gave a thin, humorless smile. "You didn't defend yourself," he said. "You disabled 5 of my men with professional efficiency. That's not basic training. That's combat discipline." Through the kitchen window, Kate caught a glimpse of M, still on her phone, her face pale. Somewhere behind the building, a motorcycle engine roared to life. "What do you want, Mr. Thorne?" "Direct," Calvin said approvingly. "I like that." He leaned forward slightly. "I want you to understand your position. You've impressed people who could use someone with your capabilities." Greg slid a folder across the table. Inside, surveillance photos, Kate at the grocery store, picking up her mail, leaving the VA office. "We're watching you." "And if I'm not interested?" Kate asked evenly. Greg's smile was ice cold. "Accidents happen in small towns, break-ins, fires, gas leaks. Wouldn't want anything to happen to your cousin's house, or Emily's little diner." Kate's hand tightened on her coffee cup, barely. She glanced at the window's reflection. More motorcycles, more shadows. "You're offering me a job." "We're offering you an opportunity," Calvin corrected. Our organization is expanding. We need professionals, people who understand structure, discipline, chain of command. Greg's phone buzzed. He checked it, his jaw tightening. We've got movement at the docks. Teams 2 and 3 are in place. Calvin nodded once, then looked at Kate. Consider this a formal invitation. We could use someone like you. Suddenly the kitchen door swung open. Em rushed in, pale and breathless. Cal, there's something. Not now, Emily, Calvin snapped, but the TV. Too late. The old television behind the counter flickered to life. Breaking news. Federal agents seize drug shipment at Cleveland docks. International cartel involved. Greg's phone buzzed again. His face darkened. Calvin stayed calm, but Kate noticed his hand slide under the table, preparing for something. She took a sip of coffee, eyes steady on Greg. He was trying to wipe files from his laptop. Fast, sloppy. Unfortunate coincidence, she said mildly. There's no such thing as coincidence, Calvin replied, his voice cold. Then the door chimed. Deputy Winters stepped in like it was just another evening check-in. Evening, folks. Everything all right here? Em nodded, clutching a dish rag like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. Fine, Sarah. Just fine. Greg closed his laptop hard, signaling the end of the meeting. Outside, shadow riders were already climbing onto their bikes, responding to an unspoken signal. Calvin stood. Think about our offer. You have 24 hours. After that, things get complicated. He and Greg walked out. Winters lingered near the menus, pretending to browse, until they were gone. Then Em collapsed into a chair, her voice shaking. They're using my diner, she whispered. All those late-night meetings, the deliveries. I thought it was just biker stuff. Kate's eyes landed on something half-hidden under Calvin's napkin. A flash drive, left behind on purpose. A test. Deputy, she said quietly, you might want to pull the security footage. Mr. Thorne may have left something behind. Winters nodded, immediately understanding. I'll get it logged, properly this time. Em's hands trembled. That shipment on the news, Cal's been going to Cleveland every week. Kate's secure phone vibrated. Rivera's update. Port Authority found more than drugs, weapons, cash, Ukrainian markings, task force forming. It's bigger than expected. Bigger than anyone had imagined. The Shadow Riders weren't just local thugs. They were plugged into something international, organized, dangerous. Calvin hadn't been bluffing. They genuinely wanted her skills, which meant they were planning something that required real military experience. Deputy Winters returned, her voice low. You should know. Officer Hayes, he called someone immediately after Calvin left. Kate gave a faint smile. Let him call. Sometimes the best way to find the truth is to let people think they're still in control. Em turned to her, realization sinking in. You're not just a veteran, are you? Before Kate could respond, her phone buzzed again. A new message from Calvin. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Morrison. First assignment tomorrow. Don't disappoint us. Attached was a photo, her cousin's house, taken from across the street. Rivera's surveillance point. They were sending a clear message. We see everything. We're watching you now. Perfect. That's exactly what Kate wanted. By dawn, Everwood Valley was wrapped in fog as Kate pulled into the abandoned warehouse district. Her truck headlights cut through the gloom, illuminating a sleek black SUV. Greg stood beside it, flanked by 2 shadow riders on idling bikes. Right on time, Greg said, checking his watch. Punctuality matters. Kate stepped out, dressed in simple work clothes, just like she'd been told. What's the assignment? She asked. Training eval, Greg replied. We need to assess your capabilities. Inside, the warehouse was surprisingly well organized. Crates stacked along the walls, labels concealed. A makeshift shooting range was set up across the back. Whatever this operation was, it had gone way beyond biker business. Kate Morrison and Calvin arrived at the final airfield as Diana Ward prepared to escape on a private jet. Her security forces, highly trained and well-armed, set up a perimeter while Shadow Riders and federal agents engaged in chaotic combat. Diana was carrying a secured case containing the activation codes for multiple underground biological weapons facilities already built in small towns. Despite diplomatic cover, the moment it became clear Diana was transporting active biological agents, protocol shifted. Diplomatic immunity no longer applied. As Kate advanced, a final confrontation unfolded. Diana's security team fought fiercely, but Kate's team executed a coordinated push. Kate disabled the plane's landing gear, while shadow riders and local law enforcement flanked from multiple sides. Diana was captured before she could board the aircraft. The case was recovered, exposing her entire network. M's intel confirmed other facilities were ready for activation. But with the proof in hand and the operation exposed, federal and international agencies acted quickly. Diana's buyers and collaborators were identified, diplomatic protections revoked, and all known sites were shut down. Kate had begun this mission, trying to protect a single town. In the end, she dismantled a global operation built on exploiting small communities as testing grounds. Her actions ensured that no one, no government, no cartel, no rogue agency, could claim plausible deniability again.